Hello and welcome to episode 72 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is November 16th, 2020. Today I'm wearing something fairly new and something rather old. And the fairly new thing is this little shrug that's knit out of you knit a square and then you just sew two little seams. I did one here and one here. And then you get this little shrug. And I had this idea because I knit something similar with a lace pattern out of a pattern book. And I really liked it. So I thought if I knit the same thing in brioche instead of a lace pattern, it'll be warmer and thicker. So that's what I did. And when I started knitting, I only thought about increasing at 4 points. And I was thinking about how often I had to do the increases, but I wasn't really thinking about how I placed the increases. And what happened is that instead of getting 4 straight lines the way I did with the lace pattern, I was getting these nice spirals. And at first I was a bit worried if it would really work out, because once you finish the square, what you're trying to do is you fold the square in half like this, and then you seam part of the side together, and the opening that's left is the armhole, and that's how you do this. But because my increases were spiraling like that, I didn't really get straight edges, so everything was a bit wonky and a bit off, and I wasn't quite sure whether it would work out properly. But I still tried to stick to my plan, and I sewed my seams, and I did show it as a finished object on my podcast, but then I thought, well, we'll see if I end up wearing it. And the fact is, I really love this, and I wear it quite a lot, especially at home. If I just want to throw something over, I will sometimes put my arms through just to have something warm over my back and my upper arms. But sometimes when my neck's a bit cold, I will just pull it round like this. And I found that if I take one half and pull it through the sleeve hole on the other side, I can even have a really nice warm scarf kind of thing around my neck that sits tightly, so it won't come off, it won't fall down. So this is not what I expected to be doing, but I really like it. And because it's black and white, it's grey, so I can basically wear it with everything. And so I'm really happy that this experiment really turned out a lot nicer than I thought. So now I'm thinking of doing it again and maybe knitting it in 2 different colors. So I'll have one color on the outside, one on the inside. And then I could either do the same kind of increases, so I'll get the spiral again, or I could do the increases in a different way so that I would get the straight lines and a straight square. That might be interesting too. So I might be knitting more squares in the future because I really enjoy wearing this. And the pullover I'm wearing has a lot of colors, and everyone who knows me will know that these are not, or a lot of them are not, my favorite colors. But this is one of the sample pullovers I was knitting when I still worked for Wolle, a German yarn company that I used to work for. And we had to hand knit the everything that was in the shop window, and we had to knit as per pattern and weren't allowed to change the colors or the yarn. The only thing that we could choose was what size to knit. So even though the colors aren't perfectly my color palette, there are enough colors that I do like, and it's a very nice yarn. It's a pure merino yarn called Sienna. I really enjoy knitting with that and wearing it. And considering that the pullover is 8 years old, it still looks really nice, even though I wear it regularly and I've washed it quite a few times. So that's my outfit today. Something old and something new. And on to finished objects. And I have quite a few finished objects. That's one of the good things about knitting small things. You get to finish things more often, which usually means I cast on new things as well. And even though I'm trying to finish more than I start new things, doesn't really work out that well, but we'll see. I am trying to get the number of works in progress down a bit because there are too many things at the moment that I'm not working on, and I want to try and get not everything finished, especially with the blankets. They don't have to get finished at very soon, but I do want to keep working on everything, and right now it's just a bit too much. So we'll see how that works. Anyway, with my finished object, I have 2 finished hats. One of them is this hat that was almost done last time I recorded. So I finished the decreases and sewed in all the ends, and now it's completely finished. Just in case you're interested, this is the inside. These are all the floats. I didn't catch any floats because they were never too long, I think. Sometimes they do look quite a bit long, but I don't mind. And especially after it's washed, it'll be nice and okay. So I'm not very keen on catching floats. I will do that sometimes, especially if I knit baby blankets. I will always do that. But if it's for me or for somebody grown up, I won't do that on a regular basis. Yeah, so that was the Opal subscription yarn, and this was part of the pattern battle that takes place over on Ravelry. So if you find the group on Ravelry for the Opal subscription, it's called Opal Abo, and you look for Musterschlacht, you will find a whole discussion thread where everybody is knitting with this color, but everybody's knitting a different pattern. So it's really interesting. And you can click this little thing on top of the discussion thread where it says pictures, and you only get to see the pictures, and you don't have to read all the German comments if you can't read German. And even if you do read German, sometimes it's just fun to look at the pictures. Yeah, so this is the first hat I finished. And the second hat is the Bali hat that I knit. Oops, dropped something. The Bali hat that I knit is part of my knit along, and I knit this as part of a set. And if you've seen the last couple of videos that I made, you will have seen that I started off with the cowl. That was that. And I used the DK weight sock yarn by Opal. That's 150 gram ball. And I held it double with a mohair silk by Hansa Farm. Those are 25 gram balls. And I had a ball of dark mohair and a ball of light mohair. And I knit the loop and I knit the mittens. And now I've knit the hat, and it's all 3 projects were knit with the same 3 balls of yarn, and this is what I have left over. So this is all that's left of the 150 grams of sock yarn. This is the light mohair silk, and this is all that is left from the dark mohair silk. So it's I think it's I really used up the yarn that I had. With the cowl, I just did half with the dark and light, and then with the mittens, it was 1 dark and 1 light. And then with the hat, I weighed the yarn, and I was thinking of holding all 3 strands, not double, but triple. Well, I was thinking of knitting with all 3 strands of yarn, but then I figured it wouldn't be enough. So I did the ribbing with all 3 strands. And after that, I changed between the dark and the light mohair silk every 2 rows. At first I wanted to change every row, but then I realized with the garter stitch panel, it would have meant that one color would be just knit and the other color would just be purled. So I decided to change every 2 rounds. This is not very obvious at all. You can see at some points it's more obvious that it has stripes, but at other places, because the sock yarn itself stripes, it's not very obvious that the mohair is being switched around. I think this row is the most obvious one. where the both the sock yarn and the mohair were light, so it comes out really light. Yeah, but I really like it. It's very soft, and yeah, I can't wait to have a chance of wearing all these three together. Maybe when we go for a walk or something. I realize now that I use my bike so much, I don't really get to wear my hats as often as I used to, because with the helmet I'm wearing, I can't wear a normal knitted hat. So that's strange. Anyway, those were the hats I finished. Then I finished the baby surprise jacket I was knitting on. And so I just said that for the project that I just showed you, I was using a DK weight sock yarn, and in German we the normal sock yarn, the sock weight sock yarn is called 4-ply, and then the DK weight is the 6-ply, and then there's also an 8-ply. And I have now knit baby surprise jackets of all three yarn weights, and first I'll show you the one that I've just finished. So this is the newest baby surprise jacket that I knit. And yeah, and I was really, when I started knitting this, I had the feeling it will come out huge. It will be way too big for a newborn. So I stopped knitting it and I started knitting the DK weight one, the 6-ply, with the 6-ply yarn, and that was that one. And if you hold them on top of each other, you can see it's not that much bigger. It's a bit longer, it's a bit wider, the sleeves are a tiny bit longer, so it's not a huge difference. And just to be able to compare, this is the 4-ply jacket. So I think it looks quite funny. I will take pictures and I will post them on Ravelry if you want to have a look. You can see the differences. So usually I knit this for a newborn baby, but then newborns come in very different sizes. So sometimes it might be good to have have one that's a little bigger. And it also depends what season the baby is born. If it's not the middle of winter, the 4-ply might be nice to have, so it's not too warm. But if it's a winter baby, the 6-ply or the 8-ply might be the way to go and the right thing to do. This is a fairly old jacket that's already been worn quite a few times. I knit that for one of my cousin's daughters, and I cast off the stitches with an I-cord, and then also did an I-cord round the neck. I think it's really nice, but I haven't really done it a lot of times, but maybe I should try and do that again. With the one that I've just finished, because with both the 6-ply and the 8-ply, you have, with opal, you have 150 gram balls, but the yardage on the thicker yarn is shorter, of course, so I wasn't quite sure whether one ball would be enough, and it was enough for the DK weight jacket, but it wasn't for this. So if you look really closely, you probably can't see it, but I can tell you that I knit 3 rows less than I usually do, 3 rows less than I in the pattern, and then I decided to cast off because I was running really short on yarn. And when you cast off you cast off down here, and then round here, and then up there again. So that's all one row, and I got up to here, and then my yarn was gone. So I had to use a different yarn just to cast off the last few stitches up this side. And I try to pick a yarn that's very close in color. It's a slightly different blue than in the original yarn, but I don't think it'll be very obvious, and especially if the buttons are buttoned up, you won't even see it. But even if you do, I think it's not very obvious. Yeah, but otherwise I'm really happy that this is finished now, and I will make sure it gets to the baby I knit it for as quickly as possible. So at first the question was whether I would send the 6-ply or the 8-ply, but now because it's taken me a bit longer than I expected, I will definitely send the bigger one, because even if it's still too big now, the baby will grow into it. So that was number 3. One more finished object for this week. Last time I recorded a podcast, I showed you I had started a hausschuh I was knitting for myself, and my sister saw them and she really liked the design, and she said she would, if she were to make them, she would knit them with a bigger yarn and on, of course, different colors, because mine were knit in my... I'll just show you the first of mine, even if I'm at finished objects, doesn't matter. So last time I showed you the beginning of this hausschuh, and I've since finished the first one, and this is what it looks like. It's a really funny design. It's really easy to do, and if you knit the squares in the proper order, you don't have to sew anything. You can just knit them onto each other, and it's really funny. And this is using the 8-ply sock yarn, and I knit with a 4mm needle, which is quite okay, but it's not quite as tight as it could be for a hausschuh. It'd be nice for a sock, but for a hausschuh it could be tighter. So my sister said she liked them, but she would knit them with bigger yarn and a bit tighter. And because I know she doesn't like to knit these little squares and things, I thought I'll do them for her, especially as it was her birthday last week. And so this is my last finished object for this week. So I used Opal's DK weight sock yarn, the 6-ply sock yarn, and its one strand was with the pink and purple and the yellow, and then I used a unicolor dark lilac for the second strand, and then I used 2 strands held together, so with the yarn held double, and I used a 4.5mm needle. So that's a really small needle for using this kind of yarn held double. When I was knitting the Kangaroo Loafer by Stephen West, that calls for DK weight yarn held double, I used a 6mm needle. So this is a 4.5mm needle. It's quite a bit smaller, but it means they're really dense and they're really warm, and she likes them. On the day it was her birthday, I had knitted enough of the first so she could try it on, but I think I still had to finish those 2 side squares. And then at her birthday party, I had finished the first one, and I was knitting on the second one, and I finished the second one this morning, so I could show you the finished pair, and then so that I can, next time I see her, I can give them to her and she can start wearing them. Yeah, so that's the birthday hausschuhs for my sister, and because of that, I've already shown you the first of my hausschuhs, and I have not finished the second hausschuh for myself because the birthday shoes were more important, and this is how far I am with my second one. So yeah, shouldn't take too long to finish that. And as I said, this is the 8-ply sock yarn by Opal. It's usually called extra large, and I like it very much. I like knitting with it, and I like wearing the things I make with it. Then I have another pair of green socks that I'm knitting to donate, and I hadn't shown them last week because I hadn't knit on them. This is the first one that was already finished, and I had started with the second one, and this is how far I got with the second one. I knit the heel last night and just started with the pattern again, and I hope to get those finished quickly now because the organization is trying to get green socks to every woman who has ovarian cancer on December 6th, which in Germany is called Nikolaus, and it's a day that usually children get presents, but it's a day for giving gifts, so they want to use that day and surprise the women in hospital. So I'll have to finish those quickly so they can be sent off to the organization so the women can get them. And then there's one more pair of socks that I'm knitting on, and I have finished the first of my brioche socks. So you can turn this either way. So with a brioche sock, you don't have to knit a heel because they're very, very flexible and they fit every size of foot. And so you just knit this tube. And last time I filmed, I was knitting the toe, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. And as it's a double knit toe, it means the other side of the toe is completely grey. And I did not attach the two parts, so now I can pull them apart, and you can have one toe here and one toe there. Not quite sure whether it was a good idea to not attach them, and some people in my knit group suggested I knit a pattern, a two-color pattern, by switching the grey and the pink stitches, but I wasn't quite up to doing that because I was still figuring out how to do the decreases. But I think for the next sock I might actually do that, and instead of doing some picture or special pattern, I might just like do one pink, one grey for 1 or 2 rounds, just to attach the two halves of the toe, and then when I turn them round, they won't come apart like this, like the way they do now. But that's just an idea. I'll decide when I get there, and it will probably take some time for me to get there because this is how far I am on the second sock. I only just started, but yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing those. And because I really enjoy doing the two-color brioche, and I've wanted leg warmers, black leg warmers and blue leg warmers for a long time, I decided to knit myself a pair of black and blue leg warmers with two-color brioche. And originally I was planning to do them in solid black and solid blue, but then I was looking at this ball of yarn by Opal. It's one of their rainforest colors, again the 6-ply, the DK weight, and the color is quite similar to the one that I used to knit my Raglano pullover. So I was thinking I don't really need another pullover in the same color, and then my sister suggested I do the leg warmers that I wanted to do with this color, so they won't be a solid blue but a bit more interesting, and that's what I did. So I knit the cuff with the blue yarn, and then I started doing the two-color brioche, and then when they're long enough I will do a black cuff, a black ribbing, and then I can wear them this side up or that side up, and I can wear them this side out or this side out depending on what I'm wearing and what I would like, which color I would like to show more. And because I'm knitting both yarns at the same time, it's a bit quicker than usual brioche, where you have to you have to knit 2 rounds basically to get 1 round done. But by holding both yarns at the same time and knitting them at the same time, I always think it's a bit quicker. But these are definitely quicker than the socks, just because it's DK weight yarn and I have fewer stitches. So that's all the socks or socks related projects I have at the moment. I have continued knitting on the grey jacket that I'm knitting. Last time I showed you that I had finished both the sleeves, and I had started knitting the grey ball of yarn that I had used for the sleeve. I finished that one. That was just a little bit. It was like from here to there, and then I attached another full ball of yarn, and now I have this ball and 2 more that I can knit, and that'll determine how long the jacket will be, and then I'll knit the black. It's not ribbing, is it? If it's a different pattern, I don't know. And then I will have to add the shawl collar So there's quite a bit of work to do on this, but it's easy knitting because it's just, at the moment, it's just plain stockinette stitch, and I can just knit it while I do something else at the same time. So that's that. Then I did a little bit of crochet again. I did add the 2 stripes on my Carnaby crochet long sleeve. I decided it was long enough. I did crochet a bit onto the side. That's not part of the pattern, but I did single crochet here and then half double crochet in the middle, and I did double crochets on the top part of the sleeve. Then this bit is in the pattern, so to make this edge straight. And what I was trying to do was make sure that this bit would be a bit wider than the lower bit. It's not a big difference, and I still think they're a bit too tight probably. So I might add some more crochet on the side here before I sew them together. But before I do all that, I have to crochet the second sleeve. And I've now decided to rearrange the colors on the second sleeve so that I will keep continuing doing a color and black, but instead of mixing all the colors, I will knit like the 3 green stripes here, green, 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 and then I'll do orange, 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 yellow, 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 and so on and so on. I think that should be quite fun to have them different in that way, but not completely different. So that was the crochet I did, and then I cast on something new. I'm trying not to cast on too many things, but sometimes you just have to cast on something. And a lot of you may know that I love to knit the gnomes that Sarah Shearer, who's known as Imagine Landscapes, keeps designing. And you can now get the pattern for her next mystery gnome that will start on December 1st. And I've certainly bought the pattern already. I think I bought it the first day it was available, and but I can't start knitting it yet. So I thought the best way to wait for the pattern to come out is to knit another gnome. So I've started another Here We Gnome Again gnome. I've knit the pattern before in a red yarn, and now this is like the green brother to that gnome. And yeah, so this is just something that I knit every now. I knit a few rounds here and there. It's again Opal extra large, the 8-ply. It's one of last year's colors. Last year they had 4 colors that were very like just different nuances of one color. So most of the time Opal will have many colors in every ball of yarn. But with this series, there were 4 colors that were very like quiet, and I thought they were perfect to show off the beautiful cable pattern in the Here We Know Again gnomes. And so it's the red of that series. I've already knit a gnome, and now I'm doing the green, and I do still plan to knit a blue and a grey one as well. No idea when, but that's the plan. Somebody asked me I think on the German channel, somebody asked me, or maybe on Instagram, somebody asked me what colors I was going to choose for the new mystery gnome. And I must say I haven't really decided yet, but one idea I had was to maybe use the leftover yarn from my Slipstravaganza. And that's the next project I'm going to show you. So if I have enough yarn left, I was thinking of using the dark blue as the dark color and the contrast color 1 as the light color. And then I would use this contrast color 2 as the middle color. And the gnome calls for 4 colors. You need a light, a dark, and 2 in the middle. So I could use 3 colors of this project for 3 of the colors, and I would need another middle color. So that's where I'm not decided yet. So I have to see if I find something that goes with this color that's not too light, not too dark. I will think about it and I will let you know. But that's the plans I'm having at the moment. And this is my Slipstravaganza. That's not finished yet, but I put it on a long cable just to try and show you how big it is at the moment. Oops. And Got the yarn tangled up with another project. Oops, here we go. So this was the beginning, and then section 2 and section 3 and section 4. So it's really, really big. It's really wide, and I think once it's blocked, it's going to be quite long as well. I have finished 3 of the stripes in the last clue. So this is my contrast color 1, this is 2, and the dark blue is 3. And the pattern says to repeat the sequence 1, 2, 3, but I decided not to do all the 6 stripes, but just do 5 stripes. So now I am going back to color 2. I've done 2 rows. I need to do 4 more rows in color 2. Then I'll do 2 rows of main color, and then I will knit another stripe in my contrast color 1, which is the white, the speckled white. And then I will finish off the shawl with the dark blue I-cord. I thought it'd be quite nice to have the edge in a bit of darker color, and it'll give me 2 stripes of dark blue on the edge, and I think that should be quite nice. So I'm not rushing with this project. On the one hand, I would really like to have it done. On the other hand, it takes so long to finish 1 row because it's more than 900 stitches that usually after 2 rows, I don't really want to continue with that project, and I'm ready to do something else. Okay, so I have 1 more project that I can show you, and that's something new that I cast on, even though I didn't want to cast on that many new things. But there's 2 reasons I cast this project on, and one of them is it's part of my knit along. So it's another pattern out of the Simple collection by Tin Can Knits. And the other reason is that my sister wanted to knit the same pullover, and so this was our birthday cast on at her birthday party. And because of Corona times, it was a very small party, so it was just her family and my family, just 2 households, and so knitting something made a lot of sense. Yeah, so as I said, we're knitting all the patterns from the Simple collection by Tin Can Knits, and one of the patterns is the flax pullover, and I've knit the flax light several times before, but I've never knit the flax pullover, the thicker version. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm using this opal glitter yarn, and I'm holding it double so I can get the gauge for the flax pullover. I'm using a 5mm needle, and this is what I have so far. And if you are familiar with the pattern, you will notice that I've changed the ribbing. So I did a knit 2 purl 2 ribbing instead of knit 1 purl 1, and I also changed the panel that goes down the sleeve. In the pattern, it's a garter strip that goes down the sleeve, and I decided to continue the ribbing. So I will have a stripe of ribbing going down the sleeve, and then later on when I knit the front and back, I plan on knitting the same stripe down the sides. So I'm just holding the yarn double, and otherwise it's just very easy. Top down raglan pullover. These are the raglan increases. Haven't done too many yet. And I think I said last week that Tin Can Knits came up with short rows that you can incorporate into your flax pullover, and that's what I am planning to do as well, because I prefer the pullover to be a bit lower in the front than in the back. So that's what I'm planning to do. And yeah, that was everything. I knit and crocheted last week, or in the last 1.5 weeks, because it's a bit more than a week ago that I last filmed. And I hope you enjoyed seeing my projects grow, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!